Donald Trump still had to admit Ukraine holds the cards. And this is not only about the help of Ukrainian specialists in protecting the Middle East from Iranian drones, but also about the fact that for the first time since 2023, the Russian army is losing more territory than it is capturing. Today, Ukraine has trump cards, and this is the result of the work of our military, industries, and specialists. This was stated by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. This is how he commented on the official request from the United States to Ukraine for help in protecting American military bases in the Middle East. The first specialists from Ukraine's defense forces have already arrived in the Persian Gulf region. Moreover, Saudi Arabia is negotiating with Ukraine to purchase a large batch of interceptor drones designed to counter Iranian Shahed-type attack drones. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal, citing its own sources. And today, details have emerged about how Donald Trump refused to protect the Middle East when Ukraine, 7 months ago, offered what Trump is now asking Zelensky for. These plans showed that Ukraine was offering a truly global defense system against drone attacks, which would stretch from the southernmost point of the Middle East all the way to the countries of Northern Europe, thus completely covering the entire Western world with such a huge shield from wild Russia. I'm Pechiy. Let's discuss this together. But before we start this episode, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel. Pechiy News, the link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So today is about Ukraine. Ukraine has some trump cards, and this is the result of the work of our military, industries, and specialists. So, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, commented on the United States' request to Ukraine for help in protecting American military bases in the Middle East. According to Zelensky, the American side asked Ukraine to send military personnel and specialists with the appropriate equipment to strengthen the security of U.S. facilities in the region. And here it's important to understand that the US asked for help, not from France, not from Germany, not from any other country. They even turned down the British aircraft carrier and still turned to Ukraine. And now Zelensky says, quote, "The United States asked us to send our people, primarily our military, as well as some of our specialists with specific equipment, to help defend American bases in the Middle East. We're talking about Jordan, possibly also Saudi Arabia. The Americans asked us about this." He also added that he views such a request from Washington positively and considers it a sign of the growing capabilities of the Ukrainian army. Here's another quote. "You know, it's a good feeling. First of all, thanks to our military, wonderful people, and because we've significantly increased our own production since the beginning of this war. Now we have a high level." Zelensky emphasized that over the years of the full-scale war, Ukraine has significantly developed its defense industry, and this has allowed it to strengthen its position among its allies. When asked by a journalist whether this means that Ukraine now has trump cards in international politics, Zelensky answered affirmatively, and here is his quote. "I think so. But it's like being a good player. You can have good cards, but you don't necessarily have to show everyone that you have them. I think we had them a year ago as well, we just didn't show it, but now everyone understands that we have them. Ukraine is ready to help partners and allies if it will contribute to overall security. I'm glad that we can help our American partners." And here I'll just remind you that earlier, US President Donald Trump repeatedly claimed that Ukraine supposedly had no trump cards in the war against Russia, but now everything has changed. Zelensky is right, everything didn't change just now. The cards were actually there before, we just didn't show them. Let me remind you that the publication Axios wrote the other day that almost 7 months ago, high-ranking Ukrainian officials tried to sell their interceptor drones to the Donald Trump administration. They prepared a presentation that showed how Ukrainian technology could be used to protect American forces and their allies in the Middle East and beyond. However, at that time the US president treated the proposal dismissively, but now he himself is asking for this help. The point is that Ukraine offered what America is asking for today as far back as 7 months ago. Next is a quote from Axios. Donald Trump changed his mind only after Iranian Shaheds caused the deaths of 7 American soldiers and cost the US and its allies in the region millions of dollars on interception. The refusal of the Ukrainian proposal at that time is considered one of the biggest tactical mistakes of the Trump administration since the start of the war with Iran. This assessment was given by 2 high-ranking US officials. The presentation included the idea of creating counter-drone centers in Turkey, Jordan, and the Gulf countries where American bases are located in order to counter the threat from Iran and its proxies. But at that time, the Trump administration saw Zelensky as a leader who was only trying to advance his own interests. Therefore, the proposal was not taken seriously enough. Although the Ukrainians presented the proposal specifically as a mutually beneficial partnership, they promised that cooperation would create jobs in the US in the drone manufacturing sector. In exchange for access to Ukrainian technologies, Ukraine offered to purchase American weapons. So the cards and Trump cards were already there back then, it's just that Trump didn't want to see them. And it's important to note here that experts have already calculated that in the context of the war in the Middle East, the US and the Arab states buying weapons from them, in just 11 days of fighting they used up more than 1.5 times as many PAC-3 missiles as Ukraine received from its allies in 4 years of full-scale war. According to Bloomberg, more than 1,000 PAC-3 interceptors, which are launched by Patriot air defense systems, were used to counter Iranian drones and missiles. Meanwhile, since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, Ukraine has received a total of 600 PAC-3 missiles from its allies. But that's not all. Finally, I'll add another card or trump card to Zelensky's hand. The Ukrainian army liberated more territory in the last 2 weeks of February than it lost. As noted in the report by the Institute for the Study of War, for the first time since the summer counter-offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in 2023, Ukrainian forces have regained control over 460 square kilometers. This is about 10% of what Kyiv ceded to Moscow in 2025. Meanwhile, the Russians have sharply slowed their advance and are already complaining that Kupiansk, for the occupation of which Vladimir Putin handed out medals and even the title of Hero of Russia, is now almost completely under the control of the armed forces. And most importantly, Saudi Arabia is entering negotiations with Ukraine to purchase a large batch of interceptor drones designed to counter Iranian Shahed attack drones. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal, and the potential deal could be worth millions of dollars. In addition to interceptor drones, Saudi Arabia is also considering purchasing Ukrainian electronic warfare systems. These systems make it possible to jam control signals to drones and effectively disable them before they reach their target. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like the video. If you found this episode interesting and useful, you can support the work of this YouTube channel with your donation or a paid subscription using the links and details in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.